All right, so Paul Pogba was just banned for 4 years for doping. And from what I've read, it seems like it's due to him not being able to provide enough evidence as far as him not doing it, or if he, ate some like tainted horse meat or some shit like that. I don't know. Now, he first failed the test back in September of 2023, and then he had a second sample in October of 2023. They usually do this just to see if, what they found in the first time was right. But in this case, test A and test B both came back negative or positive or whatever for doping, and it's due to elevated levels of testosterone in his system. So since he wasn't able to clear his name, he's been banned for 4 years. Now that's pretty steep. I mean, I've seen these situations where, they say that they're going to give him like the full sentence, and then they always come back and then give him like a year or something. I think they did that with Andre Onana, but I remember Andre Onana was able to like prove that it was his like wife's supplements or something like that. I don't know. He was able to clear his name somewhat, or provide at least a good excuse. And you know what? Here's the thing, bro. I bet that most of these players are on something. Let's just be honest. Like the performance enhancing, drug testing system in football is extremely weak as far as testing these players. I mean, they pretty much know when they're going to be tested. So to be honest, I think it's harder to fail these tests unless, like a player is being targeted for something, or they're trying to make an example out of somebody. But yeah, basically he can't play until he's 34 years old. This is pretty much the end of his career, right? Especially at this age, it's very hard to go away for 4 years and then try to come back. You're not the same player. He's not going to be playing for Juventus. He's not going to be playing for a top team anymore. And also, all his previous injuries and the trouble that he's been dealing with physically for a while now, I just find it hard to believe that he's going to come back at a top level. Now, speaking of those injuries, it kind of makes you think, like, if he was taking something extra on the side, some, extracurricular type shit, kind of makes sense, right? I mean, like, all the injuries that he's been dealing with, honestly, I don't really blame him. Dude is probably trying to do everything he can to get himself back, On top of that, he's dealing... again, he's dealing with the injuries. On top of that, he's dealing with extortion from this group that involves his brother somehow. Meanwhile, the media is on him constantly regarding his injuries. He's probably seeing that all the time. Dude is probably just doing his best to get himself back. Can we really blame him? And this is talking if this is true, right? He also said, everything I've built in my professional career has been taken away from me. That's not the case. Like, we're going to remember Paul Pogba. He was a fantastic player. And I'm sure his agent or lawyers or whatever is telling him to kind of, is telling him to kind of say that, or he's just having like an emotional reaction to this, which I can't really blame him. But speaking of him and his legacy, I don't think that that's tainted at all. I think people are going to remember him. And maybe this comparison is not the best, but I kind of feel like this is going to be like an Allen Iverson type situation where, the mass public remembers him. And for us, he's probably one of the better players that's ever existed. But within like, FIFA or like the leagues or something like that, he's not going to be really acknowledged or anything like that, if that makes sense. I mean, I don't know if that does or not, but that's kind of the way that I thought about this in this situation. But unfortunately, he's one of those players that, like, this is going to get a lot of attention without people doing a lot of research, because he is like a polarizing figure, right? And I think the problem with Paul Pogba is that I love these kind of players that show their personalities, but you have to be able to back it up. And I think at first he was able to back it up, and I really did like that. But it gets to a certain point where maybe it's not so much his fault with the injuries and everything like that, but he still has this certain persona where he comes off as maybe like cocky and arrogant and whatever in the media. And if that's the case, you got to be able to back it up all the time. If you're not able to back it up, there's a problem. It's kind of like Conor McGregor. Man keeps waffling, but he hasn't won a fight in years. Of course, Paul Pogba believes that this is incorrect. Everyone that's ever been banned, they always say, like, I never knowingly did this, or I never deliberately went out to do this. But he also said, when I'm free of legal restrictions, the full story will become clear. I'm really curious what he has to say, but also this is another one of those tactics that they always say, and it's a way to get, the public on your side. But I'm really curious to see what he has to say. But here's the thing. I mean, like, if he's saying when I'm free of legal restrictions, so like, what are you telling these guys then? The guys that do matter. Like, what are you saying to them? Or like, what are you not telling them? Because obviously they're saying that you didn't provide sufficient evidence for you not doing it. So what exactly do you have to say to us, right? And maybe the evidence that he provided wasn't acknowledged by whoever it is. Maybe he's being made the example. I don't know. Or maybe his brother has something to do with it. Who knows? But anyways, here's the thing. I like Paul Pogba. I've always liked Paul Pogba. I like what he stands for. I think he's a very, very fun player. And he's such a polarizing figure. Like, when you watch, you either love him or you hate him. And that makes it fun to watch, And there's not too many people like that anymore. Everybody is so media trained, but he's fun. He makes it interesting. We need more players like him. I do hope this situation gets figured out one way or the other, but it's always hard to see a player have his whole life taken away, especially if it's not true. That would be horrible. But we don't know the details. The only thing that we only know very, very base level of this kind of stuff. I'm really, really interested to see how this develops. Usually I'm all for justice being served, but in this situation, honestly, I kind of just feel bad for him. Like, he's been through a lot lately with the injuries, with his brother trying to blackmail him, and it's just a set of problems that, lack of a better word, us normal people don't deal with. And it's just like that saying, more money, more problems. It's just a new set of problems that we have probably never experienced in our lives, nor will we ever. That can put a lot of strain on somebody. And like I mentioned before, talking about the injuries, bro just wants to play football again. And this is all talking if he is guilty, which we don't know. But if he did do it, yes, it's wrong, but we can sort of understand in a way where he's coming from, right? But yeah, no, if he didn't do it, his name needs to be cleared, and I feel terrible for him. And what's worse is that these cases take so long to figure out, regardless of if he's innocent or not. This could be the end of Paul Pogba. Hopefully it's not, and I wish the best for him. Anyways, thank you guys for watching the video. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And there's always some craziness going on in football. I'm sure I'll see you real soon.